In this video, I'm going to be going over how I print out custom or replacement art for cases. Generally, I do this for anything I'm casing in a universal game case, or any of my loose games that I'm casing, such as Sega CD, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast. So in this video, I'm going to be going over how I print out those cases, kind of what that process is like, how I cut them, and how I ultimately get them into a empty DVD case, get the game in it, and put it on the shelf. So I've got a few Sega CD games I need to print cases for. So in this video, I'm just going to use one. So I'm going to use Dragon's Lair. So I have a loose disc of Dragon's Lair. So the first thing we're going to do is we've already got all of our equipment set up. I use a HP 7740 printer that allows me to do, it's got dual trays, so I can do letter size paper and legal size paper at the same time. So if I'm doing CD cases, anything for like DS style cases, any handheld games, or any DVD cases like I do for the Sega CD and Saturn, typically I just use letter size paper. If I'm doing a universal game case, they're thicker and a letter size will be a little bit too short, so on those ones I use legal size. So the printer allows me to keep different papers in and configured. That way I don't have to keep swapping settings. So once we have that, we've got our paper cutter. I use just a paper cutter to cut off the edges. We'll go ahead and be using that. We will not be using the digital one. It's too difficult to do full paper on because of the adhesive backing. So I do not use the Cricut for these types of projects. I do for labels, smaller projects, but not for a full cover art. That's really all you need. Your printer, some good ink. You're going to head over to thecoverproject.net. So if you're not familiar, this is a project that was started up quite a while ago. It kind of got built over time. This is pretty much the go-to for any custom game cases. They have a forum, you can request game cases. If you have scanned art, you can upload them here so that some of the professionals on the forum, you'll see a lot of these cover art are done by the same person. They can use your raw scans if they're of high quality and use those to convert them into, a really good reprint. So let's go ahead, and these are all the systems here on the side. So we're going to go ahead and go to Sega CD. And then here it'll sort by newest to oldest. Sega CD's been around for a while, so most of these covers haven't changed. But pretty much all of them are on here, at least for the US games. So what we're going to do is we are looking for Dragon's Lair. So we're just going to hit D. These are all the games that start with D. Here we see Dragon's Lair, and we see there's two covers. This one. Go ahead and click on here. So here's the cover, and if we look here, the case type is DVD case standard. This is going to fit in your standard DVD case. If we look at this other one, it's going to say slimline. That is the really narrow DVD cases. So if you look here, the point between here and here, how small this font is, it's because this is made for a slimline, but we're using a full-size DVD case here. Here we can see that the cover is created by VT102. This is the user. So if I go back, if I look at some of the other covers, so if we pull up like Dune, you see a cover by this user, but then if we come down here, kind of same scheme, we see VT102. This user has created, I think, every cover for the Sega CD in this style, which I really like this style. You get the blue spine, and he took a lot of the original artwork and digitized it to make these cases. So I like that the scheme's the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to verify that the region is United States. That's the one we're working with. And we're just going to go ahead and say download. Now this is going to download a JPEG. Normally you could just open this and print this. What I like to do is I like to open all of these in Photoshop. So I'm going to go ahead and open Photoshop. Let that open. And then what I like to do is I like to find the image that I downloaded. And we're going to go ahead and open that in Photoshop. And the first thing we're going to do is go to image size. We want to verify the dimensions. So if we notice this resolution is actually 71.9. So if I was to do a print, see how big this is? It's because the width and the height are correct, but the resolution is wrong. So what we need to do, if you were gonna open this and just print it right off the bat, it would overfill the page way too much. So the resolution we want here is 300. So that changed this, so we need to change this back down to 3225 by 2156. Enter. And here you can see the image didn't change at all. But now if we go File, Print, now you can see it actually fits on this page. And so we're going to go ahead and print this. So there are two different types of paper that I'm actually going to print this out on and show you guys just so you can see the difference. I've used both, and once I show you the end result, I'll kind of tell you why I prefer the one over the other. But the two we're going to be working with here is actual HP photo paper, and the other is just a cardstock. Both are letter size. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to print settings. And I've already got this set on HP photo papers. And the important part here is print quality. This defaults to normal. You want to make sure you set this to best. This is going to get you the best image without many lines in it. And then if we head over to paper quality, just again want to make sure this is on best. Paper size is letter, so that's good. We have it auto select because, as I mentioned earlier, printer does have two trays in it. I leave that as photo papers. When you're printing these, make sure you have borderless printing on. Otherwise, it'll actually cut off the image. You can see how close it is to the edge already. And layout, we just want to make sure this is landscape, which it is. Alright, so we are ready to print. So we're going to go ahead and start the printing process. Alright, so we're over at the printer. This is the HP 7740. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to leave the bottom tray alone. That is the legal size tray. The top tray I have set up as letter. So we're going to go ahead and start with the HP photo paper. So this is a glossy photo paper. We'll go ahead and put gloss side down. Pop this in. Pop that out. And we're going to go ahead and hit print on the computer. Now with this printer, if you print on normal, it's a pretty fast print. I switched to best quality. And so that's actually going to slow things down a bit. But it's going to give us a better print. This is obviously a multi-cartridge setup. So you've got 3 individual color cartridges and 1 black cartridge. This printer supports the XL cartridge sizes as well from HP. So you don't have to worry about having to really replace cartridges that much if you get the XL ones. Overall, I haven't gone through a whole lot of cartridges with these, and that's even having as many printed cases that I have. Really doesn't use that much ink. When you do the best quality, it does uses a little bit more, but like I said, you get a much better print. So right now we're just waiting for the print to come out. And you can already see that color really pops with this best quality print. And you can see how close it is to the edge here. And this is why we had to make it borderless. If it had a border, then it would put the border over top of this, and it would actually cut off some of this text. Like the Sega seal here, the P on player, all of this would get cut off, and then when we go to put it in the case, it won't be the full width of the case. Alright, so we have this. What I like to do is I like to let these dry a little bit before I start cutting it. Here you can see it's a really good quality. So we're just going to set this to the side. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the photo paper out. And I have a brand new ream here of cardstock. So this is premium cardstock. It's 110 weight, 92 on the brick. I'm going to take cardstock. As a comparison, here's the glossy paper and here's the cardstock. Go ahead and put that in, shut the tray, and we're going to hit print again. So here is that one, and if we grab the photo paper one, there's the photo paper one. So just looking at the color difference here, you can see how much the photo paper one is popping compared to that one. But let's go ahead and head over to the table where we have our cutter. Here's our case. So I buy these, this is just a standard empty DVD case. I buy these in bulk. There's a seller on Amazon that sells these. I buy them, I think it's 50 at a time, and a box of 50. And so what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go ahead, this is the cutter, take a look at that in a minute. We're just gonna go ahead and lay these out real quick, just so that you can see the difference. And you can really see how dull this one is compared to this one. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this one, show you what it would look like in the case, and then we'll compare it. So this is, like I said, this is the cutter. So this is a swing line. It will cut up to 12 inches long. So we can cut legal paper on this one as well, as long as we trim down the edges a little bit first. So pretty much all I do is I just line up the edges and cut it off. And so that's what we're gonna do today. So we will just line up our edges and just swipe down just to cut off the white. Now and then this one, if you notice, I cut a little bit less, I will just cut a little bit more here. If the background's white, sometimes it's hard to see where you should be cutting off. You can always use another one as a template and kind of cut over that one. Even when I'm printing in bulk, I always cut them individually. So there you can see that's what it looks like cut. Now if I put it into the case, and what I do is, these will be a pretty snug fit because I cut it pretty precise. If you cut too much off, it'll be a little loose, and all you do is just line up the spine. So here, if I close this, here you can see it. It's okay. It's pretty dull, right? So let's cut this one instead. So, and these I'm a little bit more careful with, just because how glossy it is. I don't want to smear the ink with my fingerprints. It's relatively dry. There's really no there's no smearing or anything going on, so we're good there. So now we're going to go ahead and, so once again, that's what it looked like. You can see even before I put it in the case, it's already a lot brighter. So let's go ahead and slide it into the case. And this paper cutter I did get at Walmart, but I'll leave a link in the description to the printer I have, as well as the printer and also this paper cutter. One thing I did notice that has been happening with these is the, if you look here, whenever I print it on the photo paper, there's actually a border that is being printed. So if you look here, I cut these perfect. There's a little bit of a gap up here, and also on the bottom. So if you look, these obviously don't line up, so I actually need to cut off a little bit more. If I don't do that, it will overhang on the case a little bit. Not sure why it does that. I don't know if it's a Photoshop thing or if it's my printer, but whenever I'm using photo paper, most likely it's the printer, I would think, but I'm not 100% sure. It puts that little bit of extra on there. Not a big deal. It's always easier to trim off more than add back to it. And the reason I trim that little bit extra off there is so that it doesn't overlap on the case and expand above where the plastic is here and here. So there's our final case. There you can see it's a much better quality. You know, it looks a lot better. On the shelf it pops. I'll be able to read just Dragon's Lair there. So if we just go ahead and grab our game. And this is one of the games I think I got from Retro Game Treasure. So it was disc only. Go ahead and put that in there. Close the lid, and we're good to go. And so that's pretty much it. That's how I print out any of my custom cover art that I need. Sometimes I do this for repro games that I'm making. Generally I'm not making repro, they're more homebrew type games. Sometimes I'll do cover art for those. Various titles that I have disc only. Mostly CD based games, but with the NES games, Universal Game Cases, they basically follow the same process. But that's it. Drop me a comment below. Let me know what you think. I'm interested to know how many people print their own covers, and if you follow a similar technique, or if you have any tips and suggestions, definitely let me know. As I mentioned, I do have a Cricut digital cutter. I do not use this because when you put the paper on the mats are actually tacky. So when you cut it, it's a perfect cut, but when you go to peel it off, it's going to start to crease the paper. Unless it's like a poster board, and even that's probably going to crease. It's really hard to peel off, you know, the big pieces. So that's the process I follow. Thank you for watching.